Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all along here today to our webinar. My name is Claire Murphy. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Great Place to Work. Together with our team who are based around the US right now. I'm currently based in San Francisco and we're right across the country. We wanted to create an opportunity based on a need we've heard among our customers to connect with each other, to connect with us, to understand where our thinking is at currently in terms as we move through these uncertain times. What we're going to cover today, what we're seeing out there, what we're learning, and we're going to create an opportunity for discussion. And as it pertains to that discussion, how we would ask you to participate is to submit your questions in the questions panel that you'll see on your right-hand side. Our colleagues are fielding the questions. If you have any individual questions, we will try and answer them either in the sidebar or we'll come back to you after the webinar. We're going to group and theme the questions so that we can pose them to Michael and Tony throughout the course of our time together today. We'll be together for an hour today, and our presentation is being recorded and will be provided within 48 hours of the webinar. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Tony Bond, who is our EVP and Chief Diversity and Innovation Officer here at Great Place to Work, who's currently based on the East Coast. And we have Michael Bush, our CEO, currently based out of Oakland. So I'll turn it over to Tony and Michael.
Okay, thank you so much, Claire. Thank all of you again for spending time with us today. We know that there's a lot of demand on your time and energy right now, so dedicating an hour with us is very much appreciated. I want to start with this kind of focusing on what our mission is, because I think we're all here because of this mission. It's a powerful mission, and I can't think of a situation where this has been more important than today. We're trying to make sense of what's going on. Our families are trying to make sense of what's going on. And when you think in terms of where do we lean for support, where are we most connected, where do we get our information that helps us make meaning of what's going on today, a lot of that comes from work and the places that we work. And so we're in a unique position to be the meaning-making place where we can actually help people move through this issue that they're dealing with right now. We want to be able to share with you today not only the data that we've collected over many years, but also the lived experiences we've had in working with organizations, because we hope that combining those two, you'll leave here with some one, maybe two or three takeaways that's going to help you along this really difficult journey that we're all facing right now. And so I want you to keep in mind that we don't have all the answers. This is a situation we've never dealt with before. I'm sure if you talk to any generation in history, they will say they've had their once-in-a-lifetime moment. And so this is for us, our once-in-a-lifetime situation. And because it's such a grand issue that we're facing, a communal crisis, it requires a communal response. And so while we want to bring to you the things we've learned, the things that we're hearing, we also realize that there's many questions that we don't have answers to. And so we're hoping to create this learning space that we can not only share with you, but get questions from you, the things you're struggling with and dealing with every single day. It is our responsibility to go back and try to come up with some ideas and solutions that's going to help you along the way. And so think in terms of this is not a one-time event, but we want to keep the dialogue going. And so this email address, feel free, once we leave today, to send questions, ideas to this email address, and we'll make sure that we keep this conversation going and share things with you offline as well. We are facing some really tough issues today. I mean, these are big issues. You can look at them in terms of wicked problems. We've heard wicked problems being used before. And what does that mean? Really, not only are we having a difficult time coming up with solutions, but we can't quite frame the problems we're dealing with. And so while there's huge crisis going on, huge opportunity for us to not only address those issues, but come up with things that can help transform our organizations long term. So maybe we can come up with ideas, behaviors, processes that are not only would be relevant today, but something that will help us long term. And so that's what we're looking at, using this moment not just to deal with a crisis, but also transform our organizations. And it all starts with trust. We've been measuring trust for over 30 years. Trust goes two ways. This is the ultimate test of trust. We have to be able to trust not only our employees, but we have to act in a way that we earn that trust from them. It all starts with trust, it ends with trust. And so hopefully today we'll share some things that kind of help solidify what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. We also know that, go ahead, we're going to explore this in the terms of what does leadership look like? What is purpose-driven leadership in moments like these? Because these are unusual moments. We have an opportunity to leave a significant mark on what our organizations look like long-term. So it's a time for us to really, in the moment, figure out how can we treat employees in a way that's going to leave a lasting mark. How can we build organizations that are going to be leaving a lasting mark? And so it's not only a chance to deal with crisis, as I mentioned before, but also define what our organizations are going to look like long term. And so to help us do that, I want to just turn it over to Michael. He's going to be sharing some of the insights with you. Michael will spend some time with you. We'll come back at the end to have some Q&A, and hopefully you'll leave here with some significant things that's going to help you along this journey. So with that, Michael, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tony, and hello, everyone. Tony's on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. I had a call early today with our 48 leaders that have offices in 50 countries and where we survey over 100 countries. So we've learned a lot about what's going on with working people all around the world in over the last 2 weeks. So that's what we want to share with you. So our message today, we're starting at the top. The most important thing that an organization can do, which is message from the top during this time. So number one is for a leader to communicate, a CEO and other senior leaders, we have to communicate in a way that lets people know we understand what they're going through. We have some true empathy. And the issue right now is well-being. It's their physical and mental health. Those are the two things that our people are thinking about 90% of the day, but they're talking about it very infrequently because they have work to do and they have other issues, but we know it's their well-being. So that's every employee. It's everybody who's currently on this webinar. These are the top issues for us. And it doesn't just stop there. It goes on to us thinking about our families and the members of our families, the children who are now around many of us as we work, and our parents and relatives that we have that are older, that are in the group that's the most at risk, that many of us can't get to right now. So it's not just our own personal physical and mental health, but we have these additional worries and things that are on our mind. And in addition to that, if that's not enough, we're worried about society. We're worried about our friends, our neighbors that we can no longer even just have a conversation with when we see them when we're all working from home. We have to do that from 10 feet or more, or just kind of wave or text them. It's very strange, but these are on our minds as well. And the local businesses in our community that have been shut down, that are suffering, we know these people, we care about these people, they're on our minds as well. So this is the new weight that's on every working person. And any leader who is communicating with their people must communicate in a way that helps our people know we understand these are the things that are at the top of their mind. And in addition to that is work, but these are the things that they're worried about the most. The other thing that we have to make sure that people understand is we understand that money is on their mind. And it's not just because money, it's because of the things that I just mentioned. When people are having these additional pressures and this additional uncertainty, money helps solve a few problems. So this is why it's particularly important. It's not for working people, it's not survival. For people who have lost their jobs, it is a matter of survival. So we have to communicate in a way where we talk about money, because if we don't, we lose credibility with the people who are listening to us. And the additional piece is information. People want to know what's going on with the virus. They're Googling every day, multiple times a day, trying to learn what they can. And anything a senior leader can do to help them get information about the virus or the economy that would make them feel more comfortable at this time, more knowledgeable at this time, is a great gift to the working people. So empathy, understanding. Number 2, money. And number 3 is information. So moving on from there, as we think about the for all leader, the leader who is able to lead anyone, any place, at any time, regardless of whether they're remote or not, which is what we're talking about, these are the things that we need the for all leader to do. Number 1 is around the communication from the top, from the CEO. We have CEOs who are doing at a minimum a weekly video communication, and many who are doing 3 days a week, 2 days a week, and some that are doing every single day. So we encourage that the minimum is once a week. That's the minimum. And in terms of time, these are 5-minute messages. So short and to the point, making sure that you handle in that time a few things that we're going to be talking about today. And if you have a nice studio to do it, great. If you have an iPhone or a laptop, even better, because that's the life that people are living in now. So informal in some ways is better than carefully curated. The key is to do the communication, and if you're informal in the message, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're actually relating with people who are living the same way. So it creates a connection that we're all in this together. If you're carefully curated, they're not. So the informal communication is really effective. In terms of the message, the initial point that the CEO or senior leader needs to communicate is about their own humanity. Being able to talk about what's going on for them and their families as well. So it's not a time to say, well, my family's having a tough time getting toilet paper. Most people don't want to hear that from their CEO, but to hear that CEOs now have children around them who some are worried about the CEO's health and whether they're going to make it through this. So it's a new worry in households, especially with executives, where people don't worry that much about the executive. Now, some of them are older, and it's a true worry. So it's finding a message for the senior leader to make sure in an authentic way that the people who are listening feel like, okay, this person's dealing with the same things that I am. They're worried about the same things that I am. And it's an important time for the senior leaders to let everyone know that kids cannot interrupt a video conference. Pets cannot interrupt a video conference. A month ago, sure they could. Now, absolutely not. So we have to create ways where, because you got to worry about the mental health of that kid and the mental health of that pet. So it's a time where we have to be welcoming and embracing all the people around us to increase the connection for the people around us in our households, as well as do work. And we can do these things at the same time. A senior leader making that clear to people means that you are really people first. And you're thinking about that person and their family and the connections that they have and embracing those things and not expecting them to distance themselves from those things. The next is money. And people need to know that you're working and thinking about a way to get money in their pocket as soon as possible. This can be done through directly, as companies are doing, spot bonuses, lump sum, payroll conversions from time off into cash. Some companies are covering co-pays for employees around healthcare issues. Some companies are saying you can buy a meal once a week from a local business. It does two things. Number one, it helps them financially. And number two, it helps them do good, which is the connection of your organization's purpose so that they can help someone in the local community who is struggling right now. So these are ways to find ways of getting cash into their pocket. If you're not talking about a way of doing that, or that you're thinking about it, there's a disconnection that occurs and the trust gets a little weakened that you really understand the situation that they're finding themselves in. Just about every company has a travel budget right now that isn't being tapped into. There's a way, just do the best you can, communicate and talk about this issue. Not talking about money is that erodes trust right now. Have to find some way of talking about what you're doing, because this leads to confidence in management, which is the whole point. what management needs to be worried about is, do the people trust us now? Management shouldn't be worried about, do I trust the people now? It's not the time to do that. If you're wondering if you can trust your people now, keep it to yourself or talk to your pet about that. You don't want to be sending any signal like the 6 a.m. call to see how you're doing, but you're really trying to make sure they're working. Not the time for that. It's the time to make sure every action you're taking, every message you're sending, you're getting their trust. You're making sure they feel good and are confident in you. And the other things you can do is, how are you learning about COVID-19? How are you staying informed? How is your team staying informed? That makes them feel good, that they don't have to Google all day because you're doing some of that for them. The other thing they want to know is, how are you making business decisions right now? What are you doing to protect the business? Because this is linked to, am I going to have a job? Well, people get confidence when they know, what are you looking at? What are you thinking about? What kinds of analysis are you doing to make decisions that are going to affect us over the next 9 to 12 months? So sharing that information about modeling, scenario planning, reviewing the benefits package, anything you can share, competitive analysis, support from the government, banking, you're working with your banks, anything you're doing to decide how to lead the company going forward, try and communicate that. It builds confidence in management. And finally, the most important point is to ask for their help, which is the ultimate show of respect. Asking for their help, letting them know that as a leader, you need them and you need their help. This is a great time to activate your ERGs and to get them going. And if you're listening and I don't have an ERG, we don't have things like that. Well, Humu.com, just talked with Laszlo yesterday, or listened to his webinar. They have an infinite Zoom meeting. It's open all the time so employees can drop into it. If you don't have ERGs, you just want to get something going where people can come together and talk about if it's an affinity group or not. If you're, we just don't want anyone left out. That's the point. No one should be left out, and people can come together and talk about what's going on. Just a loose conversation about what's going on for them and their families and their communities right now. What are they worried about? What are they optimistic about? And what you find is, if you do this across different ERGs, 90% of the concerns are the same. And you can talk about that, because that's what unifies us as human beings going through the same kind of crisis with the same kinds of fears. You will find, if you have ERGs that are active, there are some differences though. You will find that members of the Asian American community have a new fear that they didn't have 2 months ago. They have an additional fear in the way that some members of society are writing about them, are actually physically attacking them. So you want to get that information as well and talk about it, because it means you're a leader who understands what's going on with your people. You can talk about those things. And then finally, these are, if you have ERGs, it's a great time to have them come together around practical problems like, what can we do to support people working from home? What can we do to get people care packages at home? Get your people to work on those things. What can we do to make sure people who are having problems with insomnia can find a Zoom meeting at 3 a.m.? So it's using them to solve some problems that help them in this new way of working, and using them to begin to point out to leadership, really, this thing that we say we value, these differences we say we value. If restructuring comes, how are we going to value those things? How are we going to make that a decision as we restructure and perhaps reorganize? We have a research paper on how to recession-proof your business. It's on our website. We talk about, in the past, companies that do this with diversity and inclusion in mind financially outperform those who don't, who just go to some basic metrics like seniority or performance or productivity and have no way of considering the other things that different experiences bring. They don't do as well financially. So take a look at our research, get involved in that. When you engage your ERGs to think about ways to innovate, to improve the experience of this new way of working, that's innovation by all. And that's a leader asking for help. We have 3 research papers on that too. You can find them on our website. Send a note to our email. We'll send it to you directly. You can stand on this research from 10 million people surveyed that we can offer to you right now, so you can know how to get ready for the continuing uncertainty where, for many of us, restructuring is going to become a reality. So those are the things that we want to deposit. Hopefully you can get those to the top of your organizations to help get this messaging going. This is the most important thing you can do to make your people feel that you're really thinking about them right now. It's the message from the top. So we'll open things up now for Q&A, any suggestions that you might have. And also afterwards, when we end the webinar, please send anything that you're doing in your company that's working, so that we can gather that information and share it with our community, customers or not, and work with our media partner, Fortune Magazine, to get the word out on what you're doing, what our best companies are doing, so that we can help everybody learn more and learn faster about how to take care of our people during this time. So we're open to questions and discussion at this time.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Tony. Please feel free to chat in any questions that you have into your chat box. While we're waiting for people to chat questions, Michael, one thing that you spoke about was about the idea that in terms of like kids can't interrupt video calls. I'm just wondering if you could maybe clarify that for people. I know it's top of mind for a lot of people right now in terms of psychological safety, ensuring that, they're showing up as, productive employees while they still have their children around them. So I suppose in terms of even how we work within Great Place to Work, maybe you could just give a little bit more context and clarification around the idea that kids can't interrupt video calls.
Yeah, I mean, what we know is they actually can interrupt the video call. But what we're saying is we want to handle it differently than we used to. All of us who have been moving around the world doing work are familiar with that moment at home when the door opens and the kid comes in the room and has something that's super important for them, and we do things like this, we do things like this, we do things like call the other partner, please come get them, please come get them. All these things to not interrupt this super important thing called work. We can't let anything get in the way of work, and we want whoever's looking at our face to know there's nothing that matters more than work, including this kid. Well, that was the old way. That doesn't work now, because this kid needs connection now, because this kid can feel something's going on here, and that's the reality of it. And they need reassurance now, and that reassurance is more important now. So, and by the way, when you shoo your kid away today, you don't feel good. So it's bad for you. And you're not able to give more to your organization. So this is you can hit the mute button, but you cuddle that kid. You pet that pet. You respond to your partner when they walk in. All businesses can handle that. This is not unprofessional. This is the future of work that we're living today. So these are the points. I know everybody watching has had this experience, and the message is from the top. Leaders need to talk about it and say it's okay. And say it's okay. It's not non-professional. It's how you build trust. That's why it's important, and that's why it's okay.
Great, thank you. We have a question from Anya. She's expressing thanks. But also, would you maybe give some examples about like how you talk about money? So I'm going to make an assumption, Anya, that it's, as it relates to pay and bonuses, etc. If there's any further clarification you want to give, but I'll throw that out, as I know that's a customer question we're already getting. Maybe Michael, to talk a little bit about how you talk about compensation at this time. And Anya, if you want to elaborate on that question, feel free to chat.
I think 2 points. Number one is you have to talk about money. From the top, we have to talk about money, and people want to know that your team is thinking about ways to get them money. So there are many ways to get them money. One of them could be, we can't get you lump sum payments now. We can't get you bonuses now. Let me tell you what we're focusing on: your employment. That's what we're focusing on, securing your employment. We can't make any guarantees, but this is our focus. How can we lead our business in a way to keep you employed through this unforeseen event? That's talking about money, but talking about it is the key. I did mention some things companies are doing. We're seeing phenomenal things. Starbucks increasing the minimum wage by $3 at a time that it seems like a crazy thing to do. Well, they've already done it. We see Target doing something similar. We see Workday 2 weeks ago giving an additional 2 weeks pay. So these are examples of companies who understand it, get it, take quick action that Excel does not support. The modeling doesn't support, but they're doing it for a different kind of a reason. So what people want to know is, at the top, you're focused on how to get them money. You're trying to find some way of cutting their cost, making sure you're covering their internet at home. Maybe you weren't. Well, now it's a good time to take a look at that. Every little bit helps, because if it's, hey, we're going to cover your internet cost at home, and we're going to do that, as long as we're in the crisis, not forever, but as long as we're in the crisis, we're going to cover that. It doesn't seem like a lot of money. For that person, it's a lot of money. And it makes them know and feel that you're thinking about them. So we all have to do this. We cannot say there's nothing we can do in terms of money right now, because they want to know your brains are focusing on some way to do that.
Great. Thanks, Michael. So Anya said yes, that was where she was going with that question. She also said we're providing 2 weeks sick pay for anyone that gets sick, and bonuses for particular shifts. So now I understand the importance to talk about it. Tony, maybe to switch. Sorry, Michael.
No, I was just saying, well done, Anya. Well
done. Tony, to throw a question your way, Jessica's asking about ways in which teams can stay socially connected with co-workers outside of work projects. And she's the museum hackathon is one that's showing up there. I know that's something that in our organization we're engaging in. I'm wondering if you'd like to maybe comment on other ways that teams can stay socially connected outside of work projects.
That's a really good question, Jessica. I believe, and this may be something that you are used to doing, but we start meetings, and rather than jumping right into the work that needs to get done, there needs to be a formal way that we can check in with people. That's almost as important as the content that we're exploring together as a team. And so if you can look for meaningful ways, fun ways to check in with people at the very beginning, because I think what you'll find is that not only will you build a deeper connection with each other, but you'll have an opportunity to see what each person is experiencing, the challenges they're dealing with every single day. So start your meetings that way, close your meetings that way. If you do that, not only will those connections be made at that moment in time, but people are going to learn things about each other, and they'll reach out on their own and set up, whether it's virtual coffees to stay connected. But the important part is honoring the whole person, as Michael mentioned. It's not just the employee, but it's the whole person. Bring that type of conversation into your meetings. And I think you'll find that the connectivity between people will be super, super strong. I feel like this is work, other than family, work provides that place where we can feel really connected in a way. And while we're not together physically, we still are connected emotionally. Our hearts are connected with each other. And so it's weird during this time of like isolation and distancing. I feel like we're more connected now than ever before. So bring the whole person into your meetings, I would say, would be a great way to foster that.
Great, thanks, Jessica. Michael, I just sent you over a message because it's a lovely one and a long one. Excuse me, my pronunciation. Fernand is just talking about is sending his regards from Germany. So good evening, Fernand. In the absence of all motivational tools such as events and appreciation weeks, what motivational tools can you recommend to companies? So they are doing great work to deliver shipments to people in hospitals in hotspots around the world, and they're trying to motivate them. So I suppose motivational leadership overall, and then what kind of tools would you recommend? I think that's probably a big theme for people right now.
Yes, this is my good friend Farnaz from Germany, and just so you know, Farnaz is a she, a magnificent she, and so hello, Farnaz. There was no way for you to know, Claire. Don't worry about that. And she's smiling right now. I can guarantee it. And she works for DHL, and there's no more of a global company than DHL, and the world needs them now more than ever to get supplies and other things that people are trying to do to get things from one place to another. Their workforce can't work from home. Their workforce has to do the work during this very difficult time. And as a company, they do a magnificent job, a remarkable job of recognizing and rewarding their people physically all the time, all throughout the year, and they're unable to do that now. So this is a large part of the core of who they are, that now they have to find a different way to do it, a less personal way to do it. And the good news is I know the leaders there and the team there, and so they happen to have the kinds of leaders who are very inspirational in terms of their message, very committed, very knowledgeable. They've been in the business a long time. They know the business, so they have that credibility. And they also are people that their people respect. So video is the way, for sure, for the leaders at DHL and other leaders like a John Pearson, a Ken Allen. These are leaders who communicate great in the way that I'm doing right now, trying to do right now, and their messaging is exactly what I've been talking about. So Farnaz probably already doing it, but increasing the frequency is really important. Your organization is one that so much work gets done every day, all around the world, 24 hours a day, and every other day message. Increasing that frequency is something that the people certainly won't get tired of. So using video frequency, we can use all the sports analogies. The great coaches at halftime, they deliver a message. And it's every day. At practice, they deliver a message. During the game, they deliver a message because it matters and frequency matters. So I think that at a DHL in particular, trying to move to the every other day or the everyday short message will give those people a boost, especially from the great leaders at a company like DHL.
Can I add a thing real quick, Claire, to that same question?
Of course, that was my next muted. My next question, Tony. Anything you want to add?
I would just add that we started our session with showing our mission is a great place to work, and that's what brings us all to work at this organization. I think that's what connects all of you with us. And so every company has built on a purpose, has a really strong mission. I think in terms of now, we have so many opportunities to really have mission moments and to really connect people to this purposeful work that the organization was designed to do at the very beginning. So if we can hold that first and foremost in the front of people, how we're living our mission, the purpose of our organization, how it's really being stretched in a way to meet the needs of others. I think that's powerful at this time as well.
Great. Thanks, Tony. So I'm just going back to you. Bruce posed a question there. I'd sent you over the question, but ultimately the question or the suggestion is like what Chris and Nazetta is doing in Hilton right now, thinking about creating a corporate culture of family. And the timing of the depth, dimension, timing for family. So thinking about like creating that corporate culture of family, that sense of community, thinking about, we're trying to do this with our network of customers right now is, bringing people together with that sense of community. So I'm wondering if maybe you could speak to that a little bit, please.
I can speak to that, particularly using Chris Nassetta and Hilton as an example. The reason that Chris, at the most difficult time in Hilton's 100-year history, is able to talk about family is because he's always been talking about family. So he's not just starting now. He has great credibility because he's always been talking about family. It shows up in their survey results all around the world. In the open comments, this is and when you do the word cloud, it's in the inner circle because they talk about it, and so when he can stand on it now at the most difficult time in their company's history. No one's been hit harder in terms of our customers than hospitality and airlines. So they've been hit the hardest so far, and but he's able to rally on this point. And so what does family do for each other? Family actually it supports each other through good times and bad. So Hilton, who was looking at closing hotels for a period of time and looking at furloughing and laying off employees, pretty big numbers, is working with the companies in the economy who are hiring. So they're working with Walmart, they're working with CVS, they're working with Amazon. They're working with the parts of our economy that need people, and they're able to say, we have people that have worked with us 15 years. A lot of them, and I know this factually, have never missed a day of work. So these are remarkable people. These aren't just people. These are remarkable people, the kinds of people who, yes, can transition to something else and fully commit themselves to it. So he's able to move people who are great people that are familiar with a great culture and can therefore be valuable to any team. So they're in the outplacement business right now, finding great opportunities for people, which and they started just like that. So it lets their people know, wow, this company has shifted from being a hospitality firm to being an outplacement firm to try and find something for me. So he's able to stand on, which is what great companies, and looking at the roster of who's on this webinar, this is what great companies do. If you don't trust your people now and you're not trusted now, there's nothing you can do. It's really hard for you. But companies who have been doing great work with their people, certified great places to work, and other companies that aren't certified great places to work, they can stand on their values, and family being one of them at Hilton, that sense of family, and use it to get through the most difficult time that they're going through in their 100-year history, probably the most difficult time of any company, probably, all the hospitality companies that we do business with are facing the most difficulty right now.
Great, thank you. Michael, as you and Tony, as you think about the times we're in, we're all in difficult times, and acknowledging that we have a great group of leaders on the phone, we all need to take care of ourselves in these times. Maybe you guys could share what you're doing to take care of yourselves while you take care of your businesses and our wider community.
Tony?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It makes me think. I think I woke up the other night and had my first panic attack that I've ever had in my life. Maybe it was a panic attack, maybe it wasn't. My heart was racing, my mind was racing. And so I realized what I had done is gotten away from. I normally have a routine of doing some mindfulness stuff in the morning, exercising during the day, and just connecting with family at time. And I was sort of getting away from that. And so I think what we have to realize is that we're going through the same thing our people are going through. We're not immune to anything that our people are experiencing. And so the same things that we're asking leaders to do for their people, we have to make sure we're doing it for ourselves. So if we can carve out some time to be connected to our family, uninterrupted time, work is much more fluid now. It just kind of goes throughout the day, and we're in and out of space of working all the time. So we have to be, first and foremost, comfortable with not knowing, comfortable with leaning into others for advice, and then also making sure that we're focusing on our own well-being, however that looks for you. I mean, I love music, so I may play a little bit of guitar during the day. So we have to do those things to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of others. And that's just kind of a few things that I've found to be helpful to me. I'm sure you have some different ideas, Michael, maybe even better ways of staying resilient during this time.
I know we had a call yesterday and Tony was on it, and he had on a gray t-shirt and he was sweating, and it made me feel good because I knew he had just gone out for a run. So, you know, it was a good sign to see that he was taking care of himself and encouraging that. The other thing that we're finding in our work that is people who are new to working from home are putting in too many hours. They're totally new and they just are unfamiliar with it, and so they're kind of sitting down, locking in, and standing up 10 to 12 hours later. People who have had some experience with it have more of some experience with how to schedule in breaks, and how to stop and eat. People who are new are just sitting down and like plowing through the entire day because they're inexperienced. So they're putting in a lot of time and probably too much time. As we all know, taking breaks makes you far more productive and improves your productivity. It also, you know, one of the learnings is that all of us should put a break in between those video calls in the morning. All of us should put a break in between the video calls in the afternoon. That's a good time to take a walk, to engage with your kids that are in the house, your partner who's in the house, reach out to a friend, call that sick aunt, or just the aunt that you're loving and you can't see anymore, and get an Amazon order, you know, or whatever, you know, over to them in terms of some food or supplies that they might need. We need to be doing these other things that are addressing the things we're really worried about, which is our physical and mental health, and the physical and mental health of those that we know and care about.
Great, thank you. A very practical question that has been coming in this week is what are your thoughts, and this is for either and both of you, on surveying employees at this time?
I think that you got to be thoughtful. Got to be thoughtful. So make sure that people know why you're doing it at this time. So, which I can think of a bunch of reasons why, but you want to make sure you're doing a good job of communicating that. So, you might be about to survey your employees, you know, perhaps using our tool, you know, our 60 to 62 questions, and you want to make sure people know that you're doing it because you always do it and you want to know how they're doing, and you're doing it because you are particularly focused on how they're doing now. So things like encouraging people to use the open comment section to talk about things that the organization can do or isn't doing that would make their experience better is a way to let people know this isn't the normal survey. This is something that's going to be used in a deeper way at this time. Another is pulse surveying, which is finding a question set that is shorter, that is focused on what's going on during this time. So if you like to get some information on what might be some good pulse questions, then send an email to the email that we put up, the michael_bush@greatplacetowork.com, and we'll get that question set to you. We've done some thinking. We've been surveying around the world in some pulse ways to find out what's going on with people, particularly in places like Italy and in South Korea. So we do have a question set that we believe is a good one for you to find out what's going on now around the specific crisis. I see a lot of our competitors are doing something similar. So if you're in a pulse mood, then we have something that we can offer you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tony, anything you'd like to add?
No, I would echo what Michael said. Being very clear on your intentions of what you hope to accomplish with surveying right now, being very focused on what you're asking, and brevity is more important than ever before. Don't expanded any longer than it needs to be. So very specific to what you're asking and the intent of you asking those things.
Great, thank you. So I'm conscious of the time. We're about 15 minutes from close. So I'd really like to, I suppose, before we turn it back to the audience, and anyone on the line, please feel free to continue to chat any questions you have. But what do you see coming next? We are in the middle of uncertainty, and these are unprecedented times. Again, we're being asked to forecast. I'm just curious, what do you guys think is coming next, or what should people be thinking about, or what questions should they be asking themselves and their people?
I would say, I don't know, maybe the future isn't knowable. I don't think any of us really know, but the future can be shapeable. And if we do some of the things that we've talked about without really knowing what the future is going to look like, I think and still, regardless of what it ends up being, it puts us in a place where we're actually creating a great place to work, more so than we were in any time in history. So I would say it really falls back on those, especially those things that Michael highlighted. Those are the things that are shapeable for our future. So in the absence of really knowing what it's going to look like, I think that's the best we can do is focus on those things.
Yeah, I think we're talking about connecting with our people in a very caring way, an empathetic way, a very human way, and we have if there's, just imagine going through this crisis even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, where we didn't have such reliable internet globally, and where people can on a smartphone be connected to someone else. This would be very, very very hard to do well. It would be very hard to do this. The technology that's available to us all around the world enables us to do it in a humane way, in a way that keeps people connected to one another. So we're fortunate to have the technology that we have. I think that I'm hoping that Great Place to Work can be one of the resources for you. So this session that we're doing today, we're doing another one tomorrow. You were all invited, but we're doing another one tomorrow where we're just opening it up to customers and non-customers. And we're going to do that every week. And what I hope we can do is be sharing what we're learning from our survey results and our interaction with our customers. And in addition, be sharing these are the ways that people found a way to get cash to their employees. These are the ways that people were able to adjust benefits and get cash to their employees. These are the ways companies started paying for, even those that were small and don't have a lot of cash, that got money in the hands of their employees. These are the ways that we enabled people who are working at home alone, who don't have a pet or a child to interrupt them, are finding ways to connect and keep their humanity and not feel so isolated. So we're hoping to be a repository of best practices, things that you're learning that we can get out to all of you and more, so that we can be a place to let you know what the best companies, who everybody on this phone is one of those, is a certified Great Place to Work, what they're doing, so that people, whether we do business with them or not, can do something to help the people who are working for them, because it's all about a great place to work for all, whether you're a customer with us or not. So we need you to, not only do we want to provide you information, but tell us, these are 3 things we're doing, and the third one didn't work very well, but here's what we're doing now. Getting that information to us so we can share it around the world. If you want to share something with us and don't want us to share it, meaning link you to the thing, just let us know that. But we want to be a place of repository, and then getting out on a weekly basis to anyone through blogs, which we're going to be doing. Tony and I will be activating a blog built on this first session, and we'll be doing that every week. We have other blog content on our site. We have a team of people who are grabbing the issues. We've already put out a blog on remote work. We've already put out a blog on the 7 things every company needs to be doing. based on the COVID-19 environment. We'll keep pushing that out and letting you know that it's coming from our survey data, and we'll keep pushing it out. But if you feed us information on what you're doing, we can do so much better at it. And so we need your help on letting the world know what you're experimenting with, like Anya shared earlier.
Great, thanks, Michael. I think that's a perfect place to start to wrap up. I see a question from George from Planned Parenthood regarding the difference in nonprofits. George, we will come back to you on that question directly, and that's actually a really good question for us for our group tomorrow as well, and we will certainly take that into your next question. But we will answer that one for you individually. So thanks to Tony and Michael for all the insights today. As the person who's leading the team who talks to customers every day, I have absolutely no doubt that those insights are powerful and insightful, and they really speak to the things that we're hearing at this time. Thank you for everyone for joining and posing your questions. As Michael said, this is really powerful for us. We can get all this information together and ensure that we're bringing our community together, and that people get to share your collective wisdom and not just our wisdom. So we will have recorded the summary for you early next week. As Michael said, we're going to have the Together session starting next Friday, which we're very excited about. Check out our blogs. You'll be getting emails from us with our blog content, but you'll also see them on LinkedIn and on our website. And make sure and email us with your questions. We want to make all of our content as relevant to you and as timely as possible. So the more we hear from you, the better we can curate our content to make sure that you're getting what you need at this time. So thank you everybody for joining today. Please feel free to contact us offline at any point. I'll have a customer success representative that you may or may not know by name, depending on who deals with them in your organization. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions about your individual account yourself, and we'll be more than happy to support you. Take care, stay well, stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
All of you. Thank you.